Does that mean it's streaming? Thanks, Chad. Understood. Okay. Hi. All right. Good evening. I'm going to call the June 11th, 2024 Finance Meeting to order. I am present, Councilmember Brennan, Councilmember De La Rada, Councilmember McPartland, Councilmember Moskowitz, Town Attorney Finnan, Town Comptroller Greenwood. We also have Chief Koshin, Lori Peretti, Ray Smith, Matt Yetto, Diane Percy, Deputy Supervisor Joe Drescher, and Aaron Cassidy Dorian, the confidential secretary. All right, may I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the May 14th, 2024 finance meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes from the May 14th, 2024 finance meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meeting minutes are approved, and we will move on to items for action.
Good evening. The first item is a resolution to appoint a student worker. It's for Jacob Grecians. His resume was in there. It's to serve as an intern for the supervisor's department. The second is a resolution.
Just a moment, Beth.
Okay.
I believe there's also, were you going to speak to Jad as well at that point?
He was on Laura's, so he's down further.
Understood.
Yeah. We've had a few of them over the various committee meetings.
Okay. And I will also be amending the special meeting resolution to add another intern for the Office of the Supervisor. The individual's name, I'll be amending. The individual's name is Shashank Sagam, and he will be an unpaid intern, and he's through the APAPA organization. So I'll be amending that resolution to add that name to the list.
Thank you. Okay, the next is a resolution accepting the town's AED policy. That policy is still being finalized. Deputy Town Attorney Chuck Assini, thank you. I'm blanking on his name. I apologize. Sorry, Chuck. Has been working on this with a subset of the safety committee. We've gone through several iterations at this point. It's almost up to the 100% mark, and the board will be getting that in plenty of time to review before the end of the month resolution. That will bring us up into compliance with the new state law requiring the AEDs anywhere where we have public access. So that's a really good thing to get knocked out. The next item is a discussion regarding the Mohawk Towpath Scenic Byway contribution increase. We have, as a town, contributed to that $600 a year as a budgeted item for quite a few years. We received a letter last week that was included in your packet. They are asking if we could increase it this year from $600 to $1,000. We did not budget that amount. Although it's typically under finance committee approval, I just wanted, because it's a specific line item out of the budget, I felt that it would be appropriate for the board to consider that. We certainly can find the money for that. There is also an annual report. I did not scan this in because it's a very nice little cardstock annual report they do. I did put those in everyone's mailboxes to review, that just so you can kind of see where do our funds go and the work that they do along the Mohawk, trying to make it nice for everybody to use. So
it's money well spent. That's a little bit of money for a great program that Mohawk Towpath Byway performs. 26 miles of beautiful nature, so yeah. Well spent.
We will plan to increase that, and then we'll have budgeted the proper amount for years going forward. The next discussion item I have is we would like to add an additional vendor to provide pre-employment physicals for people that we hire. We have used the same company that also does our drug testing for quite a few years. They subcontract out the physicals to WellNow. We've been having some difficulty and some significant time lags in getting people hired because of the backup with WellNow. So we've looked around for other companies that can do this work. There is another local company, it's Access Compliance. They are the only one we were able to find that could do what we would like to have done. We would keep our drug testing with BMR, who we've used for years, but we would like to have the second option for physicals. In full disclosure, I know the owner of Access Compliance. We serve on another board together for the Northeast Ballet Company. Our children used to dance together years ago when my daughter danced. So I do know her. It is a woman-owned, veteran-owned company, and the prices are very comparable to what we pay now. I think it would be about $5 more for a physical. They, however, do everything in-house, and they do not subcontract it out. So
this would allow us to get these done on a more timely basis. Is that why you're recommending this?
yes, it would. We've had a number of problems recently with our pre-employment physicals at WellNow not being able to get everything done. We had the most recent gentleman, it took him over 2 weeks and being sent to 3 different locations to get his pre-employment physical done, which quite frankly makes us look like we don't have our ducks quacking in a line. So we wouldn't use them all the time, just on an as-needed basis.
And we'd still be able to do it with the other agency,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And the only other thing I have is, should we have any budgetary modifications at the end of the month, those will be on. I don't have any as of now.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay, are there any other items that need to be added from the floor? Diane, did you have some items you wanted to add to the floor, from the floor? Are you sure? Come on up. And speak into the microphone so everyone can hear.
They're not props per se. I just wanted to let everyone see what I have up here in front of Councilman Moskowitz.
Do you want to go to the,
Unfortunately, the letter went out after the due date of May 20th, the original due date. The majority of residents had paid and were scrambling to pay on May 20th. So we are getting about 75% of the mail each day of residents have already paid based on this duplicate bill that went in with the letter. Yes, they see the letter, whether they're reading the letter, they think it's a new bill.
So they're paying it again.
They're paying it again. So we are copying, Lois and I came up with a little letter that we're inserting saying that you've already paid. This doesn't account for all the residents that have come in. They've brought bank statements. They've brought copies of their checks that they've already paid. I'm just saying it's just unfortunate that the bill went out again with the letter because they just think they don't see it's a duplicate bill. They see that it's another billing. So I just wanted to present that to the board, that's a mailing that we're sending back, the postage that we're sending back, the copying, the envelopes, and the time the residents are coming in again,
Matt?
Are we sending it back before the checks are cashed or? no?
Oh, I can't take a double payment. No, we can't take double
Okay,
payments.
so-
No.
Okay.
It's just the mail,
So that's
that we're getting stacks of mail again, like the beginning of payments. Yeah, beginning of collection.
And is this an undue burden for you and your office?
I wouldn't consider it an undue burden. That's what we're here for, to speak
More
and help
work.
the
Doing it
residents.
twice.
Yeah, work is work. I mean, we're here for the residents, but it's just unfortunate that, yes, we are copying and mailing it back and the postage and the envelopes, and we have to write out,
Matt, would you like to come on up and explain the timeline of the letter, just for the public to understand the process and just some of the things that happened along the way, to explain the process and the timeline?
I mean, I kind of know, like, understand where you're coming from about the bill had a glitch in it. Is that right? Is that what you're speaking to?
Yeah, so
So the public can understand if they watch the meeting.
the purpose to resend the bills was because a portion of the bills that went out in the first cycle were missing the rate table as a glitch in the software. So we worked with the software company to reprint all the bills and to ensure that they had all that information on there. The numbers did not change, but it was just more information for the residents. It took them quite a bit of time to redo the bills. We're considering changing software companies because of this. One, because they left it off in the first place, and two, because what should have been a 1 or 2 day process turned into more than a week, more than actually a week and a half. We had to hold off mailing the bill reprints and the letter because we wanted to do that together because of the software company issues. I took some pretty stern conversations to get them to put the efforts that they needed to address our concerns and get this done. Once we did that, we did get a better response, but I'm not happy with the company and I don't wish to. I think we've already looked at possible alternatives, and I think it will be very good investment doing that in next year's budget because I'm sick of dealing with issues, and it made it a little more difficult too with some of the reports that we were generating using the software. They're not as user friendly or easily sorted as they should be. Like I said,
And to explain, the reports were used to
evaluate the impact on the customers, the residents, to assemble lists of what the actual increases were to verify that everything was correct. Like I said, all the numbers were good, but it was just not as smoothly calculated and just presented in a way that was efficient for our department, which delayed the reprint and the subsequent letter as well. The letter did have all the information that we thought that the customers needed. It did say that there was a reprint, and the bills did say that they were reprinted bills. It's unfortunate that people paid the bills the second time, and I apologize for any inconvenience it may have caused. But we were trying to give the information to the residents so that they were able to understand what the changes were, so that it wasn't as much of a shock and they could understand where the numbers came from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Fortunately, we were able to catch it and not actually cash the checks and go through that whole process. So just returning it, yeah. So, yeah. And wouldn't have been that big of a financial burden on the consumers if the checks weren't cashed, but that is a unfortunate misunderstanding. But thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Matt. Thank you for your work on that. I know we've learned how to be better in the future and send a letter in every bill on the first round, so there doesn't have to be a duplicate. We're exploring alternatives for the billing software, so that's very good. This is all about looking at what we're doing and seeing where we can be better and then making those changes. I think that's, a very good process. And I know you stayed on top of it. We talked every morning to confirm that the company was working on reprinting the bills, and we worked very hard on that letter. So thank you for that. And thank you, Diane, for putting in that extra effort and to help, the team. We're a team to help us all accomplish the goals to serve the public. Okay, and then we also have a discussion from the floor about the committees. I'm not sure if Laura, you wanted to speak to that now, or if Joe wanted to speak to that. Laura, you could come up. I think it's relevant. For the boards you oversee in particular.
Yeah, so I will talk about this at the agenda meeting, but Kevin Walsh, you guys all saw the email, is leaving. And so one of the things the supervisor and I were talking about is we actually identified some things that are still missing in the policy. So just kind of last minute things. And as we thought about the chair process, we also thought about other things that were missing in there. So I made a list. I sent the list to Joseph, but essentially, like we were talking about what the aspirational goals of appointing chair people would be. I think that one is just aspirational because chair people are appointed every year. But we talked about looking at what the Racial Equities Task Force did for their chairperson so we can figure it out. And also, this came from David DiRapino, but sort of discussing pre-identifying a vice chair so that we don't have to be scrambling if we accidentally lose a chair. Not accidentally, but very sadly lose a chair because I don't want him to leave. The other thing that we talked about was that I think it would be good to actually have language and criteria for evaluating the performance. We talk about evaluating the performance at the end of the year, but I think it would just be good to have criteria. Some of the things we were bouncing around would be like number of absences, whether or not the annual training requirement was met, professionalism to staff, public, and fellow board members, just like things to think about. And then also, I mean, hopefully we never have to do this, but I also think it would be good to have criteria for removal of an appointment midterm if a violation of town policy happens. And also, I think it would be good to make a warning system for them. So documented in writing, if something is happening that is not good for a representative appointed person of the town of Niskayuna to be doing, I think it would be good to have a system set up to notify them that behavior is not appropriate, first, and then go from there. And then the last thing was I did hear from a planning board member that they were having an issue and they didn't really know where for it to go. So, we do this for our employees all the time, but our appointees have quite a bit of, involvement in the town and interaction with residents. So having a way for them to communicate issues and complaints so that we're aware, I think that would also be a good thing to put in the policy.
So I received the email that Laura sent me with those comments. So I'll reach out to the rest of the committee and we'll meet again and we can draft up some language with those additions. So I'm on it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other items that need to be added? Okay. Well, then at this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned and we will begin our agenda committee meeting at 7 p.m.